Good afternoon, Mr. Sathyamoorthy. Good afternoon, dear students and everyone, and a warm welcome to our most awaited and exclusive program. It is really an honor and privilege to host on our platform Mr. Sathyamoorthy. May I share a brief introduction on him? Mr. Sathyamoorthy is a civil engineer with more than 40 years of experience, out of which 25 years spent in the field of concrete repairs and engineering. He served most of the working life in one of the most aggressive and detrimental climatic conditions for concrete, which gave us a rich experience in solving many structural problems, both man made and otherwise. He started the career by building bridges and buildings in India in the 1970s and 80s for 13 years. He went on to work in Saudi Arabia and now in the UAE for 30 years. He has participated in many infrastructure projects in the Middle East, such as bridges, tunnels, metros, etc. He is also specialized in solving problems of the oil and gas industry. His list of accolades is very impressive and motivating and is going to be an inspiration for all of us. He has been a steering and core committee member, International Concrete Repair. He's been a member of the Institute of ICRI UAE chapter, member of ACI Committee 546, former member International Advisory Committee for CCMI, former member International Advisory Committee for IBMS. He's a life member of Indian Concrete Institute. He is also a chartered engineer in the Institution of Engineers India. He is a fellow of the Institution of Engineers India. He is a senior professional engineer from the Engineering Council of India. He has presented several papers on the preventive and reactive maintenance of civil assets. Mr. Sathyamoorthy is currently leading an international consultancy company from Canada, Simco Technologies Limited, on restoration and durability engineering in the Middle East. Let's learn from him today on the new trends and opportunities in the field of civil engineering. Without wasting much time, I request Mr. Sathyamoorthy to take over. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. It has been a wonderful introduction. I thank you and the team Kannan for giving me this opportunity to talk to you wonderful guys in India. It's a holiday today, and greetings from Dubai. And I believe that's also a holiday in India as well, or is it? Let me share my screen. Give me a minute. Okay, here we are. Trends and opportunities in civil engineering. When Mr. Kannan suggested this topic, I have taken it. So far I've been talking a lot about the technical subjects to many of the audiences around the world. But this is the first time that I have been asked to talk to students about the trends and opportunities. How am I qualified even to do that? Because you will see in the next slides what my journey has been as a civil engineer and where I landed and what am I doing now. It's always experience is the best teacher, and I can share my experiences with you all. That's what I'm going to be doing in the next hour. Having said that, I'm going to teach you fishing. I'm not going to give you the fish. And all of you understand what this means. I shall be talking about the fields such as the design, construction, maintenance in the field of civil engineering. Then we will also talk about the segments, commercial, infrastructure, and industrial. It's a wide field. And let's go through that. What are the merits of being a civil engineer? As the cliche goes, it's the oldest profession. The oldest profession in engineering is a civil engineering. And the moment somebody put a roof over the head, we were in business. This is from the Stone Age, and you all know that. And also, civil engineering is called mother of all branches. And you will see it in the next slide. Why I mentioned this is that because I didn't even know other branches existed. I will tell you why. But before that, if a doctor makes a mistake, maybe he kills one patient. If a civil engineer makes a mistake, he could kill hundreds of people. So with that responsibility, being a civil engineer, I request you all to feel proud that you are what you are, and you are going to be what you are going to be. How did I become a civil engineer? The purpose of this is to share my experiences and then guide you based on the experiences that I have had in the past 40 years plus as a civil engineer. I come from a lower middle class. We knew only one thing: engineering is building stuff. I didn't even know electrical, mechanical, or other branches of engineering existed. So you want to be an engineer? That could only be a civil engineer in my family. And it was not even my choice. My father decided what I shall become. When I was in the high school, he said, okay, all right, you are going to study to be an engineer. Not even knowing that we have more branches other than civil engineering. Okay, an engineer means a civil engineer. And as a good son, I became a civil engineer. Now, what happened to my brother, younger brother? That's another story. My father said, hey, my elder son, he's an engineer. Okay, you, the younger one, you become a doctor. And he went on study to become a doctor. He became a doctor eventually. But those were the times. The obedience for the parents and the trust you have on them was paramount. You can't question your father. I know how it is now because I'm a father as well now. I'm not sure how far such things are happening nowadays. It was not like that even when my children chose their careers. Because yes, we generally guided them, but we couldn't really dictate to them. My second daughter, she spent 6 years in an engineering college, in a good engineering college. And then she tells me, oh, I got a placement in the medicine. I want to live there. I want to join the medicine. So I told her, okay, so you like the medicine more or why? Why do you want to leave the engineering? And she said, I want to join medicine because I hate this engineering. Probably she liked the medicine, or she hated the engineering more than she hated the medicine. So she left engineering and became a doctor, and I had to give in. That's the difference between the previous slide and this slide. The previous slide, when the father tells you something, you can't argue. In this slide, no, you have to listen to your children. I'm sure that's what's happening also nowadays. Now, it's always said the parents try to fulfill their unrealized dreams through their children. I'm sure that it is true in many of your cases as well. And I'm talking to you as a parent because I know what I was asking my children or guiding them, let us say, to study. Probably these were the unfulfilled dreams of the parent. And probably, I don't know, maybe my father wanted to be a civil engineer. And that's why he encouraged me to become a civil engineer because he couldn't become one. So I'm a civil engineer now. In my time, civil engineering had the lowest demand in applying for the seats. I studied the 5-year course, unlike the 4 years that you guys are doing now. We had to do this 12 years plus another 5 years. It's a total of 17 years before you get your degree. Now I believe it's 16 years. So we do the first 2 years general engineering, and the next 3 years you specialize. Now civil engineering had the lowest demand. So I got my seat pretty easy in the 3rd year when I applied. Many of my friends were fighting for electronics, which was the premium one at that time, mechanical, electrical. It was crazy. So what happened was, eventually, by the time I finished, there were so many less civil engineers in the market who could be employed. And I was picked up like anything. Even before I got my degree certificate, I got job offers from 5 good companies. I had to struggle to choose. Whereas some of my friends in the 3rd year who are fighting for this electronics, mechanical, and electrical, they had a problem in finding a job quickly. Some of them went on to do higher studies and then went into academics because, unfortunately, they couldn't find a job soon enough. I was happy to be a civil engineer, I tell you. So what happened was, the next years, there was a huge rush for the civil branch in the 70s. I'm talking about the late 70s. There's a huge rush for the civil branch. And then what happened? More civil engineers in the market, less jobs, and the cycle continues. But that's not the case now. Don't be disheartened. It's not the case anymore. And I'll tell you why in the next slides. With the kind of infrastructure frenzy going on in our country, I'm talking about India, not only in the other countries, the hunger for civil engineers is not going to come down anytime soon. So it is not going to be like what happened in my case. Okay, 5 years, it was good. After 5 years, it goes down. It was a cycle at the time. No, this is not a cycle. This is a curve that goes up. And I want to tell you, this is in the top 10 career options in the world. Trust me, I'm speaking from the international scenarios. What is the objective of becoming a civil engineer? Ask this question to yourself. What do I want to achieve by becoming a civil engineer? Did I choose a civil engineering, like I did, because my father told me so? Okay, be a civil engineer. Or did you choose a civil engineering because you liked it? The first thing that comes to your mind, I'm asking you, the objective, is it to earn some good money? Ask this question to yourself. Or to work abroad like our IT colleagues? A friend of mine was telling me the other day, if you talk to a middle class family in South, at least one child should be in US. If it is not, then he said that they have not achieved something in life. And many of them, majority of them, 99% probably, they were all in the IT. So, a civil engineer, do you want to work abroad like what I'm doing now? Is that your objective? You want to get a nice car, a 3-bedroom apartment in Bangalore? And as it has happened with many of those that I know, you want to have the affordability to put the parents in the 5-star old age homes. Because when I was in India last time, I saw an old age home which was really looking like a five-star hotel. And I asked the guy, who are the people who could afford this? He said the children are all in the US and they put the parents here. Now, is that the objective? Okay, let us introspect. Let's put the priorities as my first priority that I want you all to think about is that you want to be happy in your job. That is the first thing I tell you. Money alone does not bring you the happiness. See which job makes you happy. I just give you an example. I was a civil engineer in the construction field for some time. And then I was picked up again in my life. Many accidents happen, all with the good results. One German engineer picked me up to become a concrete repair specialist. I came into this field in the year 1990. 30 years down the line, I never left that field because I loved that. I'm very happy in that field that I could contribute something to the others. And I'm sticking there. I'm happy. I'm 70 years old, still working and going strong. Why? Because I'm happy in my job. Build something for the nation. You may not even understand what I'm talking about now. I left the country a long time ago. And whenever there is an opportunity for me to solve any of the problems in our country, when I'm consulted, I do not charge any fees for that. I think it is my payback. And it is my duty to contribute. Similarly, a civil engineer like you, not only you will be in a job in India or wherever that you go, but build something for the nation. You could be building for the nation that we are in, India, or you could be building for a nation that I am in, like what I'm working here, and I'm building something for them. I'm happy that I'm contributing. Every civil engineer contributes in the building of the nation. And money will come, it will follow automatically. Your car will come, and your home shall come. All shall follow. But the first one is, as I said, be happy in your job. That's the one taking me when most of my friends and classmates have retired and enjoying a lot of spare time. Even today, I work more than 12 hours a day for one simple reason. The very first item, I'm happy in my job. That shall be the objective. Okay. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when somebody starts as a civil engineer? The first thing that comes to many of you, wearing a jacket, safety jacket, a helmet, safety shoes. As a site engineer, you start your life as a site engineer. You then become a project engineer, a project manager, and probably you will retire as a chief engineer. That's the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, all right, I finish my graduation, I get selected by the campus, by L&T, or the big construction companies. I'm put on a site, I start working on the site. But I'm going to guide you through in my next slides. What are the other options that are available for you? Look at the options. Working for a site, like in the previous slide, is an option. But I will always encourage you to work in the sites at least for some time. I will tell you why in my last slide. You can become a design engineer or a construction engineer, like what I have shown in the previous slide. you can become a maintenance engineer. Maintenance engineer, what I mean by maintenance engineer is an asset management engineer. What is an asset? For example, a bridge is an asset. How do you manage your asset? The asset has got 100 years of life. So you have to maintain that asset. So you become a maintenance engineer or an asset management engineer. There are options open for you there. There are various kinds of fields that you can be working in. You can be working in structural engineering. You can work in the geotechnical, still as a civil engineer. Transportation is one huge field that offers wonderful opportunities. When I studied, transportation was one of my electives. I studied transportation for 1 year, and we covered the road, the rail, seaport, airports, all in 1 year. Unlike now, each one is a subject by itself, and you can get specialized there. Hydraulics, environment, build dams. What are the opportunities that you have? I will start with the construction, because I said that's the first thing that comes to many of your minds. Unless somebody wants to go into a teaching profession or to the R&D, then you stay in a college, you do your higher studies, then you go start teaching, probably you retire as a principal. But there are other options available. But that's also a line to, because they always say teachers, in our culture, teachers are considered to be close to God. It's a noble profession. But I'm not going to talk about teaching today. Constructing what? Buildings. Believe me, guys, this is the tallest building in the world as of today. I'm happy to say that, first of all, I'm crossing this building whenever that I could travel. Nowadays, I'm confined in my home because of this coronavirus. Otherwise, every day I was passing through this building on my way to work. Not many people have this opportunity, but that's not what I'm happy about. I'm happy about that I was able to work in this structure while it was being built, solving some of their structural problems. But that's another subject, another lecture by itself. You can build bridges. As the bridge that I'm showing you is a steel bridge, because people always connect the bridge to concrete. That is prevalent. By the way, I'm a concrete guy, I'm not a steel guy, but I put the steel as an option because many people do not even consider steel in their options. Build dams. We are a country which has got many dams, with hydroelectric power being one of the biggest sources of power. Now it's a clean energy, as you know very well. Building a dam or working in a dam construction has got its challenges. One of the challenges that we faced while one of those sites were exothermal heat. When you are going to pour the concrete to such a massive structure, at a very short period, relatively short period of time, there's going to be an enormous heat that is being produced. So how to mitigate that? That itself is a subject. Unless you work in a dam construction or work for a company that constructs a dam, you wouldn't know. Then you become a specialist. Airports. I will talk about the airports in our country, how these are coming up. I have seen the airports in our country, how these were 20 years ago and what it is now after they brought in this PPP program, which is the private and the public participation. The airports are to international standards, and these are expanding. They're spending a lot of money on this. Everything gives us opportunities for a civil engineer. Seaports. Now, there's another special subject. Building something in the water itself is a challenging one. Not, you go start working in a building site, you pour the foundations, you pour the slabs, you pour the beams. But when you come to a marine structure, such as a seaport, the kind of opportunities you have to learn and practice and be unique is enormous. Metros, more and more metros are coming up. I believe that there is one in Bangalore as well, though I'm not 100% sure about that. I know I have been invited to take the metro in Chennai because they have some problems and they asked me to come and inspect. Hopefully, whenever the airlines open and I'm able to travel, I'll be coming to Chennai to inspect that metro. This metro, structures like this, you have over the ground structures like what you see now, and you have under the ground structures, because metro trains, it goes over and as well as under. And each construction is very unique and very special. Tunnels. It has been in the news quite recently. This is a picture of Atal Tunnel, which has been opened quite recently by the Prime Minister of India. There was a lot of discussion on the media because people reported, hey, it's the longest tunnel in the world. Then some people started saying, no, this is not the longest. You have one in Europe, which is more than 25 kilometers long, because this tunnel is roughly about 10 kilometers long. But what they meant by longest tunnel is that at a height of 10,000 feet, there are no tunnels in the world which are longer like this. This is 10 kilometers long at a height of 10,000 feet, because doing something at a height of 10,000 feet is a big challenge. You will be boring through the mountains. Again, another opportunity. I'm talking about the special opportunities for a civil engineer, where you can be unique. Sewage treatment plants. The first time when I visited a sewage treatment plant, I was called there to look at it because the structure had a problem. The first thing that hit me was, oh my God, smells so bad. But believe me, this is like a social service. If these sewage treatment plants function nice and good, because not only there are structures involved, there's a lot of chemistry involved. The discharge of this sewage is highly aggressive, full of sulfates, which is completely against a concrete structure. So what kind of coating you are going to be using, how the coatings fail, what problems you will see if you don't construct it good. These are all challenges that you face. These are specialty constructions, correct? The industrial structures. The industrial structures, I mean, not only the oil and gas, I'm also talking about non-oil and gas. Manufacturing, not necessarily it should only be manufacturing downstream products of oil, but also, now you have manufacturing of communication equipment. A civil engineer plays a role in building these plants as well as maintaining these plants. And water supply system, huge pipelines going above the ground, under the ground. Each pipe has got a joint. How do you join these pipes, which are 2 meters in diameter, without leaking? When you are passing the drinking water through these pipes, how do you prevent the external groundwater coming into this drinking water without polluting it? How do you prevent the drinking water, which is flowing through the pipes, without leaking into the ground? Excellent engineering that you can learn. every role that you are going to play in the one that I showed in my previous slide is a bloodline of every nation and its economy. A civil engineer plays a very, very critical role in building this. Now, are you going to just go and build? No. You have to design, then build, and then maintain. You will play a role in all the three. Design, yes. Build, yes. And maintain, yes. Look at the opportunities, man. Civil engineer plays a role in each and every aspect. When you talk about a design, here I'm going to take you through the specialties of design, not just a design by itself. When you talk about a design, what comes to your mind? Structural design. Most of you are working with the STAG, etc. But how about a durability design? I am sure that you are touching base on the durability during your studies, because when you are talking about a structure, when you are designing a structure, such a structure that you see in this picture, you design enough reinforcement, the right thickness of the concrete, with the right compressive strength to make sure the structure is going to be safe. It's not going to fall down. But how do you make sure the structure is going to be durable for its entire life? That's the durability design. Because nowadays, the structures are being built for 100 years. For example, the metros that are being built in Delhi and Chennai and probably in Bangalore as well, that service design life is 100 years. How do you make sure that the structure is going to stand good without deterioration, as you see in this picture? Stand good for the next 100 years. There is an opportunity, there is a role that you can play in the durability engineering. We have tools in the meanwhile in the world which can predict the life of a structure or the remaining life of a structure. For example, you have, let's say, a chimney or a marine structure, a quay wall or a jetty. The client wants to know, okay, I built this chimney, I spent a couple of $1 million on this. I want to know what is the remaining life of this chimney. There are engineering available for you to predict the remaining life of a structure, which unfortunately you cannot do it for a human being. You can never predict the remaining life of a human being, but we civil engineers can predict the remaining life of a concrete structure. That is possible. It's available now. Construction industry is the second largest employment provider in India. I wonder what you must be thinking. Who is the largest employment provider? Who is the first, number one? It's agriculture. The second one is construction industry. That provides the largest employment. If that can provide the largest employment, any number of civil engineers are not going to be enough. What is the size of the construction industry by 2022? I'm talking, these figures are in spite of the coronavirus. They estimated It's going to be 51 lakhs 69,500 crore Indian rupees. That is going to be the size of the construction industry in the year 2022, which is not too far away. Why I chose here 2022? But probably that is the time most of you are going to come out of the college, which is 738.5 billion US dollars. Now, I'll give you another statistics. Not all the construction industry, let me only talk about infrastructures. I'll tell you why I'm going to be talking about infrastructures in the next slides. The infrastructures in the next 5 years, when you're talking about infrastructures, the owner is normally the government. The infrastructure in the next 5 years in marine, which means port, power, water, sewer, highways, they have allocated 102 lakh crore rupees for the next 5 years for infrastructure development in India. That's a huge number. Imagine what kind of opportunities that we have to work in all these fields. What are the growth factors? You have known that they have announced the smart cities. Last time when I was there in a place called Salem in Tamil Nadu, and the roads were being dug out right, left, and the center. And I said, what's going on? What kind of project it is? They said it was connected to the smart city because they were developing that tier 2 city with urban connectivity and other urban services, which are sewage, communication, and everything. And they were developing as a smart city. And no, this is, I'm talking about 3 years ago. I was there in that place. So smart cities are coming up, and you have industrial corridors. Industrial corridors have been identified. The government started, these are the growth drivers. This is where the government is investing money into the industrial corridors. When I say industrial corridors, what do? They provide the infrastructure. They assign the land. They build the roads. They give the power. They build the drainage, they give the water supply. Then they invite the industries to come and invest. When the industries come, they build their plants, they maintain their structures. And that's where I say that we have opportunities in the construction industry. The growth drivers are also in the port. We are building many ports and we are upgrading the ports. We are building more airports. And interestingly, they have also put one dedicated freight corridor, which is mostly related to railways. Okay, you design the structure, you build the structure, you got to maintain these structures. You got to maintain these structures to last its design life. For your information, code does not specify what shall be the design life of a structure, but it recommends. What it recommends is that when it is a structure such as a bridge, metro, port, structures shall be designed for 100 years, or any iconic building structure such as Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world. It's also built for 100 years. So the design life, when an engineer, as an engineer, when you are designing, when you are doing a structural design, when you are going to be working in major projects, you will also be looking at somebody would be working on the durability design part. The durability is put in even during the time of construction to make sure that you are going to achieve its design life. There is a structure which is coming up in Bombay. They are erecting Chhatrapati Shivaji's statue. is going to be one of the largest. I don't know whether it is the largest. The largest one is in Gujarat. And they are going to build it in the middle of that sea. So they are looking to design a structure in the sea that will last, or that will have a design life of 100 years. So a civil engineer can play a role not only in structural design, also in the durability design. Now, I started talking about the maintenance. Is the maintenance a small subject? It is not. It's a very, very special subject. It involves investigation, analysis, and then after you find out what is the root cause of the problem, you have to do a repair design. The investigation itself is a vast subject. It's a very, very big subject. The people that you see are doing tests on the structure, which can read what is inside the structure. They are reading the potential difference in the reinforcement in different areas to calculate their potential to corrode. By that, the structure could get compromised. They also could read what is the cover that's available in this structure to its reinforcement, and what are the spacings of the reinforcement, what are the diameters of the reinforcement. Everything could be done without opening the structure. We have equipment now in the world which can read a 900 mm thick wall without opening it, and it can detect the voids, the condition of the reinforcement. It can detect everything like a doctor is checking you when you go for an investigation. We have equipment that are available, and this all comes under the maintenance of a structure. When you're going to maintain a structure, because you are going to do the testing, investigation, analysis, and also you have to do a repair design. As I said, it's all a civil engineering subject, by the way. Repair industry. Repair involves construction chemicals. Roughly about 23 years ago, I came to Delhi to open a branch in India. I stayed there for 5 days. I went around. I had several meetings with consultants, contractors, and owners, meaning the end users. When I talked to them, I was so disappointed. I came back without opening a branch, because whenever I talked about the repair, people are talking about sand, cement, mortar. Okay, all right, you have some corrosion that has come, just fall. Okay, no problem. Just remove the loose concrete, plaster it one again using a sand and cement mortar. I was so disappointed because the knowledge of construction chemicals were so low. Even though the construction chemicals were present 22, 23 years ago in India, the knowledge about the usage of those construction chemicals were missing. So with the result, the construction chemicals now have become such a massive industry in India. And you as a civil engineer has a role, which I will tell you, wow. The construction chemicals are used to enhance the properties of the materials. Because the one that you see here, it's not just a sand cement mortar. There are additives inside to enhance the bonding capacity of this material to the old concrete and cure quickly, because whenever you are going to do something repair, you are tasked to cure very quickly and last longer. And then waterproofing. This is a liquid applied waterproofing. It's called polyurea. The guy who is spraying it. What's the advantage of this polyurea is that you can spray in 20 seconds. You can walk on it. It's dry in 20 seconds. In 2 minutes, you can load the structure. Then you can have floorings, very nice car park floorings. This is also a part of construction chemicals. Protective coatings. The one that you see is the protective coating applied to Dubai Metro. It was done in 2009, so 11 years ago. No, 12 years ago. The job was done 12 years ago. It still looks as new. What is the big advantage? The big advantage is that this structure has got 100 years of design life by applying the right protective coating by the right guys. It would last its design life. Again, this is construction chemicals, but look at the size of the industry. Sorry. The size of the industry is 10,000 crores per annum. And civil engineers has a role here. IBMS. I was part of the International Advisory Committee of this IBMS. When I was invited to join the Indian Bridge Management System, I gladly did that because I had colleagues in this international committee, people from US, people from Australia, and people from Britain. They were all my colleagues. The contribution that we were supposed to do is that to transfer any knowledge that we may have acquired to India. So that was the purpose of that committee. I was part of it until it was finalized. Now, repair engineering is an exotic subject. Take, for example, our home. You see lots of bridges and culverts for the road transport. See, suppose you travel in a place like in Bangalore, you go over the overbridge. Okay, that's one structure. If there is a river, it's a river bridge, another structure. But there is a small culvert, which is only draining some rainwater sometime, is another structure. But when you travel on a national highways, you have bridges. When you travel on a state highway, you have again bridges and culverts. When you travel to a village, again you have some bridges in some places, though not many. Now, who was keeping record of all this? For example, if it is a national highways has got thousands of divisions and subdivisions all over the country. Each of the division and the subdivision had a register. Oh, I have 5 bridges or 10 bridges in my jurisdiction. But there were no centralized register. So what they did, and that is when I participated, IBMS, Indian Bridge Management System. They thought, first we must take account of how many bridges and culverts that we have. That is the first job. And that's what they started taking. And my participation was at that time. And these structures, which are belonging to various government bodies, central, state, and local, but there were no centralized data. The central government started and completed a project called Indian Bridge Management System. The results of this study was released by our infrastructure minister, by Nitin Gadkari. I was there in the function. I attended that as an invitee. We recorded 1.7 lakh bridges were inventorized or inventoried. Not only that, the second step was to record the status with the ratings. You see the bridge. The bridge has got number of spans. So we had to count the spans, check the length of each span, and then give a rating to the bridge. What is the rating to the bridge? Okay, all right. If it's very good, give a rating of 10. If it is medium, then you bring it down. The numbers. So based on everything visual. So we gave the ratings. Third, to identify the critical ones to immediately repair. There are bridges which are in such a poor state. We found out there are bridges which are more than 100 years, which were literally falling apart. What could happen is if any one of these bridges could fall down, the economic development of that segment which is the bridge connects two places. Suppose if the bridge falls down, maybe that happens to be the only one bridge. There are no goods traveling to the other area. So there is an economic downturn to the other area. So it's also connected to the social problems. So bridge is an important asset. So we identified those. And then we identified thousands of critical structures which are to be immediately repaired. And the government of India has allocated 50,000 crores as a budget for this project alone. The 50,000 crores involves inventorizing, getting the consultants on board, and putting together the repair package and repairing it, which I will explain in the next slide. There are 3-stage implementation. Stage 1, rating. They needed civil engineers. Actually, we had to train the civil engineers in order how to do the rating. Stage 2, consultants to do the current condition assessment and prepare tender packages. They needed civil engineers again. Once the repair construction is awarded, they need civil engineers for those companies to execute this. So look at the opportunities that you have in the repair engineering part of it. And I'm talking about only one segment, bridges, but you have many, which I'll talk later. So railways. So far, what I talked about is a small drop of what is available. Now, I said road bridges. Add to the possibilities the railway bridges, which some of them are more than 100 years, such as this. Some of them are the engineering feat of this bridge, which is a permanent bridge, where the railway bridge goes up, which allows the ships to pass or boats to pass. And some unique ones. This is a bridge on top of this Chenab River in Kashmir. It's one of the highest bridge. And Afghan, who are infrastructure contractors, I believe they are building a second one on this, and they are going to open it next month or so. Now we talked about the bridges, highway bridges. We talked about the railway bridges. Let's talk about the ports. We have a Sagar Mala scheme, which is a brilliant idea for us because we, as a subcontinent, we have one of the longest shorelines in our country. But if we, the cheapest form of transport is water, through the water. It's not through the road. Through the road is the costliest form of transport. Through the rail, second costliest. It's less costly than the road. The cheapest one is by the water. And that is why if we connect India through the ports, it's a brilliant project, a brilliant concept. The government is investing tons of money in this. You have opportunities to participate in these projects. Why? You see, this is a small port in Pondicherry, where I come from. This is just a jetty. And they are developing it as a port because you have to do dredging to bring in the larger boats, and they have to build loading, unloading jetties. If we can bring material from Chennai to here or from Tuticorin to here, connect all the places along the shoreline that are currently marked in yellow. The kind of savings that you will have on fuel alone is enormous, billions of dollars every year. And as a civil engineer, you get tons and tons of opportunity to work on all those things. How about the naval ports? You see, now we all know what is going on with our neighbors, especially China. So the government is looking into the maintaining of all the ports and the airports to make sure that we are going to be ready. We are not going to be caught by surprises, which means I am sure they are looking for good engineers with the port experiences. Airports. Airports need maintenance too. You have runways, aprons, hangars, you have terminals, all are the civil structures, and they all need the civil engineers. The government is building tier 2 airports and upgrading many existing ones to international airports. The one that you see here, these are all the airports. And if I can compare only the place where I come from, this Pondicherry airport is a couple of kilometers away from my home. You have an airport, you have people maintaining it, you have people manning it, but no flight comes in, no flight goes out. If you can develop that airport to take the flight or passenger transport, and that's an initiative that has been taken by the government. They are building the tier 2 airports, and when they connect all the cities that are appearing in this, it's a massive opportunity, massive building opportunity. Connect this to the military airports that are going on. This one is in Ladakh. Yeah, you can see the you see the apron there, with all the cracks and everything. Now let's talk about trend. The trend now is the infrastructure. Why? I will tell you why. The pandemic has taken a toll on the economy, but there are no slowdown on the construction in urban infrastructure, highways, railways, and oil and gas. There are slowdown in other areas, but not in this area. They are still going ahead with this. I'll tell you why. Economies over the world would concentrate on the infrastructure to fill the gap to take up the economy. Because what happens is this. You take Canada, that's where my office is. After the pandemic is over, Canadian government is going to inject thousands of billions of dollars in upgrading and repairing and upgrading the infrastructure, meaning the bridges and tunnels in Canada. They are going to get hundreds of billions of dollars. Why they do it? Because they have to kickstart the economy. For them to kickstart the economy, they are going to be investing in it. And that is going to happen after the pandemic. Every government in the world, whether it's India or anywhere else, they would be concentrating on the infrastructure. And that is why I said on the infra. Hence, the trend to look at is the infra sector. There will be a huge demand. The National Highway Development Program by GOI is creating the biggest opportunity in the construction opportunity. I think most of you who might, I was there I was traveling between Bombay and Pune, and I was seeing the hectic activities of road building. I believe that it is the case all over India. How they do it? They do it through PPP, because public-private participation. And that is a model which Canada is also following. Currently, we are working on a tunnel in Montreal where a private investor is going to be investing 1 billion Canadian dollar to repair the 40-year-old structure, and he will maintain the structure for the next 40 years, and he is going to be charging an X amount of money for the vehicles to pass through, and that income is going to take for the next 40 years. That's what is called the PPP. And that model is also working also in India. That is why I think people are paying a lot of money at the check post nowadays. And forget that part. What I'm highlighting here is what is the opportunity that you guys as a civil engineer can look forward to. Now, how about railways? This is one of the biggest employer too. They are modernizing many railway stations. I see it on their website that they say, okay, this is a station which is existing, but they modernize it, and it looks like an airport. One station in Delhi, I don't know whether it's finished. At least they were doing a concept design, and it was looking like an airport. It's really wonderful. And the metros. We don't need to, not only the railways, also the metros are going to be this is connected to the infrastructure, and it's going to provide a lot of opportunities for people like you, the civil engineers. Now, other than that, we have industrial corridors. These industrial corridors are, you can see that it covers. Why is it? You can see that it is mostly also really, where it is that near the sea part, because it to facilitate or give an additional opportunity for transportation of the goods, whether it is a raw material or the finished goods, and they are connecting all these industrial corridors by roads, by rails, by sea. That is the one thing, and that is when they are going to be doing it, massive amounts of money are being invested in this infrastructure building. Now, again, I continue with the trend in the infra. Is that the one? No, not at all. The power sector, generation and transmission, because we always had a problem of power shortage for a very, very long time. Meanwhile, I think it is stabilizing. I hear that the power shortage in India is coming to be better. Because of that, they started building, to do that, they started building many power plants. What I'm showing is a nuclear power plant. It's not a normal power, not the fossil power plant. And building the power plant alone is not enough. You've got to maintain the power plants. And this transmission lines, all these transmission lines, look, okay, what's a big deal? You put a steel structure. Each transmission line is sitting on concrete pedestals, and these pedestals need a certain design and the maintenance. Believe me, I'm involved into this as well. Oil and gas, upstream and downstream. Extraction of the oil is called upstream. The downstream product manufacturing is called downstream. So you have to build and maintain. You have to design, build, and maintain. You have opportunity in all three areas. Let me summarize what I have been talking to you in the past almost an hour. I identified the sectors that have better opportunities in the years to come. What do you want to be? What can you be? What do you want to be? You can choose a design, construction, or maintenance. A design engineer, as a design engineer, you can become a structural consultant for towers, for bridges, for ports, airports, industrial structures. Believe me, each one has got its specialty. You trust me on that, because becoming a structural engineer alone is not enough. You have to have a specialty. Designing a metro viaduct is different from designing a tower. So you can choose and become a specialist. Different aspects of design. For example, you can be an expert in post-tensioning. You can be an expert in structural strengthening. You can also specialize in durability design that I talked about. You say, okay, all right, I don't want to be any one of these. I want to have a job in the government. Fine, nothing wrong, because the state PWD, the central PWD, state highways, national highways, you have defense, and you have research centers, which are also managed by the governments. And also you have the big brother, the railways is there. By the way, I come from the national highways. I was working for national highways for 7 years, building bridges. Let's say you like the construction. We talked about the design in the previous slide. Let's say I want to construct. You can join commercial developers who develop towers, malls, and residential. In Bangalore, I have seen they are building some of the super residential complexes. I saw the compounds. It all looks like, wonderful. If you have a feeling whether you are there or somewhere else. Or infrastructure builders. You say, okay, all right, I in construction, you also have another choice. You can go and join people who are building bridges, tunnels, roads, ports, seaports, airports, and dams. So you can join in any one of those areas. Why I talk about all those things separately, I'll tell you now. Or you also can join industrial builders, the builders who are building plants for oil and gas, power, sewage, and water supply. For example, if you're building a structure for an industrial plant, you have dynamic loads which are involved, which you may not have it in some other structures. So you have to become a specialist in that. So each one has got its own specialty. If you are talking about the pipelines that are carrying water, I told you last time about the joints, leakages. Now let us say you are attracted to the asset management like I am. Where all you can work. You can join the material suppliers. I told you it's an industry of 10,000 crores. There are some names I'm showing, but these are not the only names. You have many. BASF is a German company. Fosrock is a British company. MC is a German company again. Sika, this is the largest construction company in the world. You can join any one of them. You have TPH, another German company. Henkel, also a German company. It's interesting. I see only the German companies here. Okay. So you can join any one of them to learn about the construction chemicals and then work there. Because these are niche areas. I'm not talking to you about areas where you can easily, or normally you find a job. You go apply for a builder and say, okay, all right, I want to work with you for a site engineer. But these are areas, avenues that are available to you. And as I told you, this is a 10,000 crores per annum industry. Let's say that I want to be a consultant like I am. I want to be an asset management consultant. It's a niche area, repair area. You can join Jacobs, one of the largest consultants. GHD from Australia. Simco from Canada. WJE from US. Sixth Sense from France. And Tebadin from Europe. As I said, I'm only mentioning a few names. As I told you in my very first slide, I'm going to teach you how to fish. I'm not going to give you the fish. You go back, you look into the websites, you try to find out who are the other providers of job in this industry, who are all there in India, who is popular, and you will do your own homework. Okay, you say that, okay, all right, I talked about the suppliers, I talked about the designers. Hey, I want to join the repair contractors. The largest repair contractor in the world is structural. They are in US, but they are unfortunately not in India, but probably soon they will come. Sanrachna, this is a Bombay-based company. Freyssinet, French company. Structural specialties, as I said, I put only some names, not all names. And you have BDS. These are the repair contractors, out of which 4 are present in India. Structural is having a discussion to come to India, but it's not yet finalized. They may be there very soon. When they come, they are going to look for people to work for them. Now, the next is probably this is my last slide. Whatever you want to do, here are the golden rules. Identify your interest first. I have given you various options. I talked about design. If you are going to be the designer, where all you can go as a designer. I talked about the construction, what all you can construct, where all you can do when you want to be a maintenance engineer or asset management engineer. Identify your interest. What makes you happy? Find out. Specialize, not to pass, but to feed to your future. You know, there are times my children, they used to take a second language, French. I said, why French? Because they said it's very easy to pass. Because they get large, very, very high marks in the French. Let's not do that. Don't take a branch, or that's because it's more easier for you to pass in your exams. No. Identify your interest, that will feed your future. Then once you identify it, identify the various employers in your field of interest. Study the career growth in that segment. I'll give an example. In my time, people joined in, say, highways, they had a rapid growth. People who joined PWD, they did not have a growth. People joined another department, they had a growth. So study what shall be your career growth in that segment. Have a target. Hey, before I reach 40 years old, I want to be the vice president, which I couldn't be. I'm the vice president now, but I'm 70 years old. Do an internship. Guys, this is very, very important. Very important, I tell you. Why I tell you? There was a time 5 years ago, I was interviewing some engineers from India to recruit, and I couldn't recruit even one of them from the South. Simple reason is that they were not employable. They did not have the skills that would make me employ them. What would make you better is that when you study, if you do an internship, you get exposure to the problems of what field that you are going to enter. That will give you a better knowledge, that increases your opportunity to be employed better. You get a better starting. The last, I always say, know the color of the concrete. What is the meaning of this? Is that I have seen consultants talking to me. I realize they've never set foot on a construction site in their life. All their life, they are sitting in front of a computer designing something which I've never seen. Don't do that. My daughter is a consultant, but I made sure that she worked as a contractor in the field for 5 years before she became a consultant. When she became a consultant, she became one of the successful ones in her own company because of these 5 years of strong background she had in the construction. I'm not asking you to go and work for 5 years only in construction. All I'm saying is that get to know, at least for a couple of years, work on the site so that you know the problems of the site. That's what I call know the color of the concrete. Trust me, some of the consultants, as I told you before, they don't know. They have not seen it. So that brings me to the end of this presentation. I thank you very much all for you patiently listening to me. It's almost an hour and 15 minutes, I guess, that we have been talking to each other. I'm okay to take questions. You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a very good learning experience. And I'm sure our civil engineers present here on the session would love to learn more. And as we open this floor for question and answers, students, please type in your questions in the chat box and Mr. Sathyamoorthy will address them. Thank you. Students, I would encourage you to be quick with your questions. We value Mr. Sathyamoorthy's time and we want you to come up quick with your questions, please.
Which Amar she'll want. Which foreign language do you prefer as a second language? Well, English, obviously. If you're studying already in English, the second preferred language you can go for is French, if that's what you mean. What is the first language in Karnataka? Is it English or is it the local language? Oh, Kannada. Okay, all right. Then you better go for the English. Yes. If you're already studying in English, go for French. Because I feel the lack of it now. Because I'm working in the part of French Canada, and I don't know French. I wish I knew. Tilak is asking how to get a job. I'll tell you. As I told you in my last two previous slide, as I said, where do you want to get a job? In which field that gets your interest? And try to identify the guy who can give you an internship on that. That will improve your employability. Because as I told you, I had a problem in employing people coming out of the engineering colleges because they were not employable. I'm not by your extremely grateful for the lessons you gave. My question is civil engineering limited to yet, or what the scope of civil engineering if it truly become an interplanetary species? Oh my God, that's Ashwin, I tell you something. When they when they were launching the geo satellites, communication satellites, in the Guindy Engineering College, that's where I come from, and they opened a branch or a specialty for the geo satellites. So I was thinking, how can that be a civil engineering subject? I thought it was a kind of electronics guys, but there was a subject in civil engineering for geostationing of the satellites. If you're talking about what is going on in the interplanetary species, it's an interesting question because people are talking about going into Mars. There are lots of experiments going on about how to erect something in Mars. But if you ask me, I try to live my life here. I'm still not going to be thinking about Mars at the moment. We still have a lot to cover here. I tell you something. I travel the world. I have got around and I travel many places. You know what I miss the most is that I have not traveled as much in India, and I regret it. And I want to do it. Sure, I'm going to do it as soon as this pandemic is over. Okay. Next one is that, so it is said nowadays civil engineers should know programming language as well. So it's really a need of the hour. Yes, I would say yes. My daughter tried it, but I should say she's one generation before. She tried that. It is always an advantage when you have the programming language, where you can work. For example, if stat guy, if they want to develop and maintain their software, and you are a civil engineer who could do that, that's wonderful, isn't it? You can. My answer is yes. Can one become CPWD with our efforts by clearing entrance? Yes. Neither we have to give, oh my God, we have some bribe. Actually, people say it's tough to get government job. That was my doubt. There are entrance exams. I can talk about I think Indian Railway Service Commission, IRSC. You can write the exam, you can go by merit. CPWD, I'm not too sure. I don't know. Which college of I studied Guindy Engineering College in Chennai. It's called College of Engineering Guindy. That is, when I studied, we celebrated the 175th year of the college. Now it's 225 years, close to, not yet. It's cost more than 200 years. It's a 200-year-old engineering college now. One thing I want to tell you guys, I think most of you are still online, is that there is what you call is an integrity of a civil engineer. I'll tell you what I mean by integrity of the civil engineer is that we have a very well-known civil engineer and a businessman from Chennai who was called to Bangkok to take a look at a 175-meter tall chimney, which was only 5 years old, and they called him to do a demolition of the chimney. And it was something like, for him, it's a 1 crore business. So he goes there, he takes a look at it, and he says, hey guys, it will be criminal to bring down this structure. Why don't you talk to the guy, somebody in Dubai? He gave my number. I take a flight, I go there, I look at the structure, I give a proposal for repair. The structures were repaired without demolition. Why I mention this? This gentleman lost a business of 1 crore to him, but he did not mind that. Instead, he was clearly not in favor of demolishing a structure which was only 5 years old. It's one of the iconic structure that I did the repairs. It also appeared in a magazine in India. What about doing MTech in evening college and doing job in morning? Absolutely perfect, guys. You should do that. I would encourage you, Mohammed. You should do that. You should do that. So basically, education is based on politics. I don't get the meaning of this question, Sukesh Rao. Sir, if not civil engineering, then what was your second preference? That's a very nice question. That was a time when I was going to apply. I applied only one preference. I did not even give the other preference because my father wanted me to be a civil engineer, so I became a civil engineer. So I did not want to become a mechanical engineer. If you ask me that question, no. Farming, yeah, Mohammed, farming is becoming a very, very interesting subject nowadays. I'm even planning to buy a few acres of land and try to retire as farmer, but I don't know yet. You have to have an interest. Otherwise it's not going to work. Quite recently, I saw somebody coming into into politics, people who have resigned their jobs from Karnataka, and he has come over and started farming, and he's a very popular person, but you should have an interest for that. If you don't have an interest, as I said, don't come there because just for money. Come there. If farming is going to be of interest to me, I would definitely do that. Yes. Is doing MTech is good college, is in good college preferred, or any college will be good? No. As much as possible, look for a good college. There are, I'll tell you an example, is that I interviewed a guy who finished his MS structures, MTech structural engineering. And I was flabbergasted that he could not even answer the very basic questions in structural engineering. Eventually, I selected somebody from Indore, from North, another structural engineer, because the college helps. Good college helps. Do your homework and find out which college is good, and not just in any college, because you are not going to take a degree just for the heck of it. Take a degree for knowledge and make your employment opportunities better. What will be our first salary when we finish engineering? Well, I don't know the Indian scenario. Here I can tell you about here in Dubai. At this moment of time in Dubai, the chances are very, very low because of the pandemic. The people are losing jobs as always, as it happens, because the building industry has kind of slowed down a lot. But in the normal times, you can start for an Indian currency of 80,000. Civil engineering limited only up to construction projects. Can it have a place in any other field? Suresh, not. You see, I explained not only just in the construction and project. I explained in many areas. You can do R&D, for example. There are, for example, in the durability. You see, I'm a durability consultant. This is a work of 30 years of my company, not me personally, but my company. Why my company? Because the president of our company, he was working on a model for 30 years to find something which is now popular. Not only just the project and construction. No. You can do lots of other things, even in research. If that's all the questions, probably I think we are already there an hour and a half.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much for your patience in answering all the questions, sir. It was so informative, and yes, we really appreciate all the effort and putting together this presentation, which really made this session very interesting. Sharing your live examples and real life experiences, was so much to take away from this entire session. So we really thank you for this wonderful session and for sharing your expertise and knowledge in the scope of providing career opportunities in the field of civil engineering. I'm sure they learned a lot more, and the scope involved in where civil engineering could take them to. So it's been very informative, and it was a very interesting session. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And I really thank you from on behalf of the students and the faculty and all of them present here for giving us such a wonderful session. Thank you for your time and effort. Thank you so much, sir.